Hey there. I am going to make a quick video showing what we learned from Bo's class about the Tim, Tip, and the Foresight spreadsheets. Anyway, let's start. Let's see here. So we all start out the first tab. And what he said in the last lecture was that these should be trends. And what a trend is something with a velocity vector. So in my case, my first trend here, chips using lower power, originally I wrote down the use of AMD chips or something like that. And that's not really, that's kind of a trend, but saying that they're using low power is a better trend. Likewise, with instead of saying using NVIDIA cards, saying there's increased use of GPU accelerators overall. So these are technology types of trends. These are actual trends that are technology focused. The second batch down here are the industry and market trends. So if you were to look at this, I mean, there's a increased security need, bigger increased use of big data, etc. So once again, everything has a vector to it. And that's what makes it a trend. Taking this data, and it'll auto-populate this view. This is the matrix view. What you see here is the interaction between a technology and a market trend. So using low-power chips intersects with low-power data centers, intersects with cloud resources, intersects with mobile devices. This is all very qualitative. You can kind of decide how well they do. There is no real simple solution for it. Just think about how it actually impacts. And by the way, the technology space that I'm choosing is high performance computing. So you have to kind of define what technology space this is all happening within. As you look at this, the yellow, and you'll see this later on, yellow is top priority and orange is second priority, or lower. Yellow is the one that has scored the most, so increased use of big data. The second most would be cloud resources and shared resources at national centers. Likewise here, this one is actually more interesting because if you look, all of these are 4-ranked items. So how do I decide which one is important? Well, what I did on the first table is I gave them a strength weight. And the strength is how strong does this technology impact or will change the technology space. So lower power chips definitely will change it. On the other hand, Viz tools, yeah, it'll change it, but not to that extent. Faster interconnects, yeah, but it's not evolving as fast. So you can kind of give a ranking. And then what I did was I brought those over here so it's easier to see. And of these 4 checkmark items, increased network speeds had the highest strength. So that's probably the one that I want to look at. Followed by, it looks like these two is storage and solid states. So by looking at this, I am now defining the area of interest, the domain of interest, as increased network speeds serving big data. So that moves on to the next tab. And once again, I'm going to define what I'm looking at. So faster networks and big data in high performance computing. This page is supposed to be a brainstorm of various technical solutions in this space. So we have some tools, grid FTP, we have the ability to host things elsewhere, bigger network pipes, security model, that's Science DMZ, performance monitoring. These are all tools that in some way either enable or are enabled by this trend, as I deemed it. I had some of my staff help me think of words to throw in here as well. Once you've got your tech space, or your future technologies, it'll migrate all those to your tech space tab. And there's a field here for a number of entries that you can change. And you can weigh these into your tech triangle. If you notice my tech triangle, I have the bottom 2 vertices instead of manufacturing process on the right and physical science on the left. I decided to go with innovate versus implement. So build versus buy, hard versus easy. Because all of my technologies, there's going to be something that I'll either buy or else just customize. So customize versus off the shelf. Going back to here, we have the ranking system. If you look at the notes he has here, it basically is a -10 to a +10 across the x-axis, and on the y-axis here, it's from 0 to an absolute value of 10 minus x. So if I use a 4 or a -4, I can go up to a 6. Otherwise, you go outside the box, and you'll see that. But then you hit the Make Triangle chart, and it makes the triangle itself. All right. Once we have our power zones defined, and I guess the power zone, and we can kind of use that to help think about what we're doing, your next step will be to do a comparison between the technology and itself, how well it drives or pushes forward this. So let's go object storage to grid FTP. It doesn't do much. Object storage to co-located data center. Yes, if we can use object storage, having co-located data centers will be helpful. So we would probably use it. But we did this last time in the Insight class. So of course, the more you have, the bigger the matrix becomes. Now here comes the interesting page. From here, you get your technology interaction plot. If you used the tools last semester, you'll remember that the number of items you have here you can change, followed by it tells you the max score, so you can then change the axes by double-clicking on them. So I can change it to 85, which matches, or I can change it higher. But what you do is you look at it, you create your scatter graph, and you see where things lie. And kind of interestingly, all of mine are in the synergy space. There's something here in the pre-product space and some feeder technologies. Feeder is 13 Hadoop. Pre-product is network performance. I don't know what that is. I got to think more about why that's there. But this one's quite interesting. Number 4 is the faster networks. It's very technologically focused, and it's used by everything. So you have this beautiful plot. Moving on to the asset opportunities chart. So the columns will be auto-populated. The rows in the corporate technology asset insights, these I pulled from last semester's paper. So it has things like, these are all things that we do. So now I can correlate what we do to the futuring domain and solutions that can be. So by looking at that, high-speed networking scores across everything, and it ties in very well with the criteria that I want to see, well, that is being shown to me. Other power assets are something that he hasn't talked about yet, but I assume that's just how it relates into the world at large. So I tried to define those as well, but you get your total on the bottom here. So number 12 is the dashboard. Number 11 is bigger network pipes. Number 10 is security, which then I can bring over here to define, once again, the top 3 and see which one of these are the ones that could be the vector for the business. If it's already being done, how can we improve on it? I'll have to think about that as well. So I think this is how the spreadsheet is supposed to be used. All right. Feel free to tell me if you have any questions.